Brazil. And as I was introduced, I'm a Brazilian engineer. Over 20 years, or well over 20 years of experience in the mining industry. Starting off my career as a machinery design engineer, early career, and then moving on to services, engineering services, EPCM, and then moving on to construction of the projects, feasibility studies, construction, and then handing out to operation. I moved to Perth 15 years ago, and was when I started my business, CONSEPRO. So CONSEPRO is a consultancy team of mining professionals. I'm based in Perth, and we have a team in Brazil, as experienced, all over 20 years of experience in Brazil. And I was invited early last year to represent Minas Gerais state government through its attraction investment agency called Invest Minas. So I'm officially representing Invest Minas in Australia since last year. So today will be a bit of talking about opportunities in Brazil as CONSEPRO, as a consultancy group that we help Aussie groups doing business in Brazil or wanting to do business in Brazil, and a bit of as a representative of Invest Minas as well. Speaking of Invest Minas, last year we did our first delegation of the state of Minas Gerais coming to Australia. We did this agenda for 2 weeks. That was the first time that they came. And they asked me to, in preparation for this delegation, they asked me to prepare, to do a study about comparing key elements that would make Aussie groups to do business in Brazil in comparison with doing business in Australia. This time, so we did this last year, this time I didn't go full throttle down because I thought that this comparison would be like comparing the Brazilian soccer team playing Australia. I'm glad I didn't have to explain my joke. But the good side of the joke is we're doing a lot better in mining than we're doing in soccer. Way better. So I'll start my slides. This is it's known already, Brazil powerhouse in many fronts, fifth largest country, seventh largest population. This is important because, as you can see, 87% of this population of over 200 million is urban, so there's good domestic demand. Ninth biggest economy, fifth highest recipient of foreign direct investment. 90% of Brazil's energy matrix comes from renewable sources. This 9% is from last year. Solar energy is increasing, as will be nuclear. So probably we'll see a bit more than 90% over the coming years. And agribusiness powerhouse, that's mind-blowing as well. World's biggest producer and exporter of coffee, sugar and soybean. Coffee, Brazil, in every 3 cups of coffee, 1 comes from Brazil. And in every 4 cups of coffee, 1 comes from the state of Minas Gerais. I'll talk a bit more about the agribusiness because this is tied with mining as well in some areas. Second biggest exporter and 4th biggest producer of grain, and this is what I'll talk about later. This is obvious I guess for all of us here. There's not much point in finding a deposit if you cannot extract it, you cannot, cannot mine it, you cannot beneficiate it, you cannot process it. And if you cannot license it, and then if you don't have infrastructure, it's going to be expensive. So Brazil ticks, if not all, most of these boxes very well in comparison with other countries. Geological, Brazil, as some of you will know, rare earths, we have some rare earths guys here today on stage. Niobium, Brazil produces 80% of niobium in the world. Lithium, I'll talk a bit about lithium later as well. Graphite, copper, nickel, uranium. Uranium is a big one. I'll talk later about uranium as well. Big changes for the better in the uranium space for explorers in Brazil. Gold, phosphate. Phosphate, as I was saying about the Brazilian grain production. Brazil has over 200 million people, but it produces food for 2 billion people in the world. Massive opportunities for fertilizer in Brazil. Brazil imports 85% of its fertilizers, by the way. So for those who like, fertilizer, phosphate, big opportunities in Brazil. Increasing capabilities in domestic, capabilities in global names in the metallurgical side. We see many global names. If they're not based in Brazil already, they're moving to Brazil. So before, and not long before, maybe 10 years ago, you have to count on names in Canada, Australia, elsewhere. You'll be well served in Brazil these days. I guess these guys will probably be a good testament of what I'm saying here. Regulation, mining agency, lots of changes in the past, certainly past 10 years. The mining agency in Brazil, as some of you might know, there's a few ways you can acquire mining rights in Brazil, tenements in Brazil. You can either buy from an existing holder of this tenement. You can buy, if this tenement is free, when I say free, it's at the mining agency, free to request the mining right, or through their auctions. So the mining agency they started in 2020, not long ago, 5 years ago, consistently announcing tenements auctions. Right, so the mining agency has a backlog, probably current number will be 90,000 tenements for auction. The mining agency recently announced, it was in February, they're partnering with the Brazilian Stock Exchange, B3, where B3 will provide a solid platform to fast track and be a more solid platform to auction these 90,000 tenements. The plan is to auction all these tenements within 5 years. There will be planned 15 auctions coming up. There has been already 8 auctions. We're going to the 9th auction now. This is a good way to acquire tenements in Brazil. Environmental license, I'll also give some real examples of what's happening with the license process times in Brazil. Focusing on Minas Gerais state, the environmental license is a state level, the majority of the cases in Brazil. Some will be municipal level, majority will be state level. Minas Gerais is leading the way so they've implemented a priority way of processing this license. So if your project, it comes to that stage, we have already defined a resource, and we start your environmental license, the agency will look at your project and will assess it and see if it's a priority project for the state. If you are in critical minerals, 100% will be. That means instead of going through the standard process of processing the license, we'll go to a priority way of doing it, which will be fast-tracked by several months. I'll show you later, but it would be maybe 2 to 3 years in the normal way. If you are a priority project, will be months, will be 12 months, 15 months. I'll show you later. Infrastructure, for those of you who have been in Brazil, and I'm amazed myself, I go to Brazil every second month. I go to different place. Every time I go, there's a new bridge, there's a new road. It's unbelievable, even for Brazilians, for Brazilian standards, I guess. And that is look, it just shows that it's a good place, if not the best place to do business when you're in mining. Minas Gerais state, talking a bit about Minas Gerais. Minas Gerais will probably be comparable to WA in mining. It's a South American mining hub. There's a little writing there that the mining dates back to the 17th century. The state breeds mining. There's mining everywhere from engineering groups, global engineering groups, the geology groups. They will all be based in Belo Horizonte, capital of the state. Some numbers about Minas Gerais, global leader in niobium. As I said, only one mine, CBMM, supplies 75% of niobium for the world. Just one mine. There's a big rush of junior mining companies looking for nearby prospects around Araxá, looking for niobium and rare earths as well. Sole domestic producer of lithium. Big rush in lithium was, I started in lithium 5 years ago. I guess when I first heard about Sigma Lithium 6 years ago. And not many people would believe that the lithium rush would happen, and it happened so quickly. I remember helping Aussie groups looking for potential grounds for lithium. Some wouldn't even come to look at them because they're so obvious. And you see the success of all these companies already in 3 years. More than 350 operating mines in the state. I'll show later a table in comparison between Minas Gerais state and WA. Only in Minas Gerais state, 350 operating mines. And Minas Gerais accounts for 30% of the mineral production in Brazil. As I was saying, it's a super friendly state in Brazil. Brazil is a country, it is a mining friendly jurisdiction, country. Minas Gerais is the standout. Minas Gerais leads the way, implements everything, and then the other states will follow, will copy them. So there's tax exemptions, there's tax breaks. There's also the state of Minas Gerais. Last year they announced they have been revoking unnecessary regulation and laws at state level that enabled the environmental licensing process to be much shorter than it is. So close to 2,000 unnecessary rules have been revoked in this current government. This current government has been reelected by 80% of the votes. I don't know if you know, but the governor, Romeu Zema, he's a businessman, he's not a politician. So most credits to him and him building his team. We see all these results. That is probably an extract of that comparison that I started talking about. Number of operating mines in Minas Gerais state, 350 in comparison with Western Australia, 134. Corporate tax will be similar to Minas Gerais in Australia, Brazil and Australia. However, if you are in these yellow shaded states, Brazil has 26 states, and if you are in those 11 or 12 states, you fall into this program of tax reduction. So that 37% will drop to 15%. Environmental license time frames, 2 years in Minas Gerais, about 4 years in WA or Australia, if not more. If you want a priority project, it will be less than 2 years. Energy costs, so Brazil not only having 90% of its energy matrix renewable, it's at 5 cents of US dollars per kilowatt hour. In comparison with Australia, I've got that at 20 cents, but some people argue with me. They say, no, it's 30 cents. It's 30 cents of dollar per kilowatt. Markets, so we're close, Brazil's close, North America and Europe, and Australia to Asia and Middle East. That's the, I've got 1 minute left? Okay. All right, I'll go quickly on this. So the royalties, I will just show quickly. Royalties in Brazil range from 1 to 3.5%. Australia goes to up to 7.5% royalties. Energy, as I said, Australia is 35% renewable, Brazil 90%. If you're doing business in Minas Gerais state, you can get 100% renewable energy. You can have a certificate from the CEMIG, which is the energy provider from Minas Gerais. You can get a certificate of 100% renewable energy. Rates, these are rates from engineering hourly rates. You can see there's a factor of maybe 3 to 5 times higher in Australia than in Brazil. Worth mentioning, in Brazil, you don't have those massive fly-in, fly-out costs. Fly-in, fly-out will be only for top management. 80% of your operational workforce will be local. Some costs for exploration. This is a good one that doesn't show the name of the companies, but this is lithium benchmark comparison. This is lithium cost production in Brazil. The blue is Sigma. You can see on the left-hand side, obviously is green bushes. No, very hard to beat green bushes. On the other side, you see price going super high. Some of them are Australians. That's, I still got 3 minutes left. I owe you 2 minutes, sorry. So I'll jump quickly to the, I guess, uranium. So lots to talk about Brazil, sorry. Carried away here. Uranium. I just want to touch on the uranium in the last 30 seconds. Uranium in Brazil, Brazil imports 80% of its uranium. And we have 2 nuclear plants, operating nuclear plants. Brazil is about to approve the construction of the 3rd plant. Imports currently 80%. So there's a big rush from Brazilian government to attract private partners to explore more uranium and process more uranium in country. As of 2 weeks ago, the uranium program, which will be a partnership between private parties and the government, announced so these are the 10 known uranium deposits in Brazil held by INB. INB is the uranium agency, government agency. They will start auctioning. I'll jump quickly. They start auctioning phase 1 this year, 2025. So it was a promise up until last year. This has been probably expected for 40 years. It's finally happening. Those 4 known deposits will be auctioned second half of this year, and then 2026, these are the 2 known uranium deposits. So that's my details. I'm based in Perth. Please reach out. I've got a lot more to tell, including opportunities for Aussie companies wanting to do business in Brazil. Thank you very much.